Musicians' Viewpoints. This podcast is by and for local musicians in all localities. I'm your host, Kevin Ronco. Hey, this is Kevin Ronco, and welcome to Musicians' Viewpoints, Episode 5. Today we have a really special guest, as usual. We have Tom Haig today, and he just published a book called Global Nomad, and it's published by Basalt Books, and I highly recommend it. It talks about his travels around the world, how he used to be a diver, and then he was into bike riding, seriously, athletically, really inspiring. I met him through music. I played in a band with him for quite a while. At the end of the podcast, we'll share a little sound clip of us jamming during the pandemic outside, 2001. We just got out there and jammed, even though everything was shut down. That was fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I certainly did enjoy talking to Tom. I think he's a really inspiring person and proud to be his friend. So yeah, it's great talking to you already. So this is Musicians' Perspectives, and today's guest is Tom Haig, author, journalist, has a very interesting life. So I'm just going to start in. I have a bunch of questions I'm asking everyone.
Right on. Let's do it.
Yeah. So tell me about the first band that you played in.
So this is really cool. The first band I ever played in, I still play in this band. So this is my two brothers and three swimmers that were on our swim team in high school. And then we adopted a drummer. So this is probably like, I must have been like 23, 24 when he first started knocking around tunes. And we have kept together, and we just played in September. So going on 30 plus years of playing with these guys. And, a time when we all lived in Milwaukee, we played a bunch. And then I traveled. It was my job. I didn't spend for the first 7 years out of college, I didn't stay in the same country more than 5 months at a time. So I was constantly traveling. And when I would get back to Wisconsin, we'd get together and throw a gig. So it'd be like a Christmas gig, or maybe never 4th of July, because I was always working somewhere in summer. But usually that's what it was. Ended up being like New Year's Eve gigs, maybe Thanksgiving or something like that. But we just always get together, play gigs, and it would start up being like Grateful Dead cover band, and we got pretty respectable. We could knock it up pretty good, and then over the years we've just infused just tons of originals. So we've gone out a bunch of times with nothing but originals. So
cool.
And yeah, very very lucky to still, like I say, we played in September. My niece got married back in Milwaukee, and we all came in for the wedding, and we threw a really fun gig in my parents' old backyard we grew up in.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you kind of just answered my next question in that question, but I'll ask it anyway. What band have you played in that you really enjoyed?
Well, so I mean, if you're not enjoying it, you might as well not play.
Yeah,
be in the band.
Isn't that
right?
true? Right.
So there's plenty. But one band that was super interesting. This might be the most interesting band I ever played with. And I was living in Dharamsala, India, which is in the Himalayas, and it's where the Dalai Lama lives. The Tibetan government in exile is in Dharamsala, India. And I had moved there, basically wrote the bulk of my book during this period in a hotel room in Dharamsala. And then every Saturday night, my sister-in-law, who was there as well, my sister-in-law and my brother were living in Dharamsala. My brother-in-law my brother Dan was the webmaster for the Dalai Lama, and he helped set up their computer network. Wow. So he had moved over there, and I had a fine job with Adidas, and I quit and moved over to Dharamsala, because I'm like, when is you're ever going to find a time where your brother is working for the Dalai Lama? So I actually moved over there, and my sister-in-law set up an open mic thing called Poetry Across the Planet. And every Saturday night you'd come in, and we give you like 4 songs or a poem or some prose, anything. And so we started doing it as individuals. And then after a while, my brother's like, oh, why don't I back you up? And then I'm like, I'll back you up. And then this guitar player, Oren, he's a Israeli guy, really good player. And he starts coming in, and we're like, oh, let's go play with us. And there's three of us. And then we got a didgeridoo player, and then a French horn player, and a flautist, and a tabla player would come in, stuff like that. So over the course of 5 months or so, we just started developing this band. We called ourselves the Himalayan Avalanche Orchestra. And the place was a coffee shop. It had 2 floors. We played up on the second floor, so they'd have to carry me up the stairs to get to the second floor. But then we played up against there's windows leading outside, big floor or wall length windows, and we popped the windows open. So we actually would get we started getting a pretty big draw. So we get fill up the top room. That was probably room for 20 people. Bottom room would fill up, and there's another 25 people like that. And then out in the street, since we popped the windows open, boom, we looked out. I remember looking over my shoulder one time, like, holy crap, there's 25 people out in the street listening to us. So we ended up being the place to go on Saturday nights in the Himalayas. It was really, really fun outfit.
Wow, that sounds fun. What was your worst gig, Mayor?
It's there's things where we've gotten in arguments, but that's, that kind of just sucks. I don't really want to call anyone out on that. My personal gig mare it's really funny because no one even noticed I was having a gig mare. But we played a same group of dudes in downtown Portland, and they came in for this benefit I was throwing. And so we set up, and I had I had a telly, and I had an acoustic for a backup, an epi acoustic I was playing. And first song, get in there, and I popped my freaking B string, and I had a lead on this song too. So I was like, oh, I gotta work my way around the guitar, get the lead in. And I'm like, crap. So I set the guitar down, pick up my epi, and I gave the guitar to a friend of mine in the audience. So I was like, dude, can you string it? Put a new string in. He's like, absolutely. So while he's stringing, I pick up my acoustic and pop a string on that.
Oh no.
So my backup is now screwed, and I'm just just super frustrated. Dude gives me the telly back with the string in, and it was dark. He picked up the wrong gauge string, and I played it a little bit, and that popped. In the span of 4 songs, I had popped 3 strings, and I'm like, oh, the freaking nightmare. And I'm just absolutely going crazy. And finally got the telly. I strung it myself and got the telly up in working order, and it finished out the set. And we get off the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, that was the worst ever. And my brother's just like, what's the problem? And I was like, did you not see that I popped 3 strings? And he's just like, oh yeah, I saw you're having some trouble there. But so nobody in the band really noticed I was having an issue, and ask anyone in the crowd, they had no idea. They're just like, it's a band. So while I was having this absolute nightmare set, no one else gave a shit. And then we ended up playing the second set, and we lit the place up pretty good. So it ended up being a good night. Cool. But I was ready to rip my hair out for about half an hour, 40 minutes there.
Yeah, I can relate with similar things. I always try to remind myself it's ensemble music, so it's there are other people playing. So if I'm a little bit off, it'll be okay.
But yeah, just try to find the groove and try not to make bad noises.
Exactly.
Don't have to make great noises, just don't make any bad ones.
And that reminds me of the next question. So when did you pick up an instrument, and how old were you for your first instrument?
So first time I picked up a guitar, I think I was 19, and I had been going to school in Champaign, the University of Illinois, Champaign, Illinois. And a guy lived down the hall from me. He turned me on to the Who, and we just blast the Who hours on end. And we decided we got to learn how to play guitars. And I came home for spring break, and I remember my sister had an aborted guitar episode where she bought this old Spanish catgut string guitar, and it was still sitting in her closet, and I pulled it out, and it only had 3 strings on it. And I remember bringing it downstairs, and while we're watching TV, I just plunk away at it, and didn't know scales, didn't know chords, knew nothing, just finger on a guitar. And after 2-3 days of this, my mom was like, Thomas, either buy some strings and learn how to play that, or put that thing away. Because apparently I was making some horrible racket while everyone's watching TV. So I ended up just putting the guitar away. But then when I went back to school, I went out and bought my first guitar, Epi, and guy sold it to me with a chord book and just started knocking away on those cowboy chords and basically learning Grateful Dead songs. Yeah, that black Grateful Dead book with all the sheet music in it, and
All right. Yep.
yeah, so I just cut my teeth just trying to learn any of those songs I could. And before you know it, I was able to hold my own with a group.
Cool. Cool. You do a great job at
Well, thank you, sir.
it. So, next question. What do you think about your local music scene?
It is changing so much, like in Portland because of the pandemic and the crime rate. So used to be we'd hop downtown. I mean, that was a big thing to do, is go downtown and catch bands.
Mhm.
And there's several little neighborhood bars and stuff in downtown that had bands. And I just remember like that being like almost my go-to thing to do every weekend. And now that whole scene is gone, and it's
Mm.
really disappointing because people don't want to go downtown. There's people get shot, and
Yeah.
it was never the case. So now the music scene in Portland has moved out to the neighborhoods. So the neighborhood pubs, there's a Mississippi district that's, putting bands back in.
Right.
North Portland's got some places where people are playing again. But yeah, it's really changed from this super fun, Portland's the greatest city in the world, to I don't want to go downtown because I'm afraid.
Mm.
And the bands are doing the same thing. So the bands are playing small bars instead of like big clubs downtown. But it's coming back around. It's coming back
Yeah.
around, and
Yeah.
there are some really, really nice places to play outside of downtown. So it's just the venues have shifted, and I think a lot of the bands that were stale over the pandemic are coming back around. They're plugging in and playing again.
Cool. Yeah. Seems like it's starting to pick up. I would
Yeah,
agree. A little slower than I expected, but yeah.
agreed.
So that brings us to the next question. What do you think about musicians who play mostly benefits instead of charging a professional fee?
Well, I am one of those musicians. I'm a serial one-off player. So I've done this like for years and years. Organize a benefit, raise money for a cause. I raised last time we did one of these, raised money for my project going to Africa, to Senegal, to teach kids in wheelchairs how to shoot video. Um, and we've done this a ton. Like raising money for one cause or another. We all get together, we all fly in, and play the gig at whosever house it is, or whosever city that we go to. And I think that whole mentality is serious. I think it came from George Harrison. I remember growing up, he did the concert for Campuchia.
Oh yeah. Yep. I have
And
that record. Yep.
yeah, and it's just the whole idea that he was like the most famous guy in the world, or one of the most famous guys in the world, and he didn't care. He was like, let's see what I use this platform to really help people out, and he did, because he was a super famous dude. But I
Right.
think that mentality sunk into me as a musician, and my brothers and the guys I play with or have played with for all these years, that we really should help out. We really should. If there's a chance for us to get together and raise some money, let's go do it. So we, obviously we do other, we'll play like Christmas party or New Year's Eve gig or 4th of July gig or something like that. But
Right.
probably at least half the time that we've all gotten together over the years is to raise money for some kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, you're never been in an outfit that was really making a ton of money. I think the most I've ever made for one gig is like $700, and I've actually booked that gig myself. It was for
Wow.
the Bastille Day Festival in downtown Portland. And but so other than that, it's like, what do? You play for the house money, maybe you get $50 a piece or something. So it's not going to change your life. But if you go and raise a ton of money for an organization, you really could make a difference. If a couple of
Yeah.
these gigs, we'd made raised a couple $1,000, and God, did one for Locks of Love, did one for this Indian school, did a bunch for Tibet. We did a whole little tour for free Tibet students, for free Tibet. So yeah, it's just a lot more rewarding than like I say, we're not the Rolling Stones, right? There isn't any money to be made, but there is money to be collected. We
Right.
can
Right.
go out and ask people to throw money in a hat, and we'll do much better than if we got paid by the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that question. It's getting some good answers.
Cool.
I like that answer. Next question. What did you do during the pandemic?
Pandemic was just unbelievably musically fruitful for me. Which is really kind of strange because I know so many people just got shuttered in. But one of the guys in my band, Mike Bathke, he started a thing called "Don't Cough on the Mic," and it was
Oh,
a
yes. Yep.
Facebook group. And all you did is you just go and record a song and post it. So I think over that, during the first couple months of the pandemic, I think I posted to that thing like 7 or 8 times.
I
Wrote
remember
a
that.
couple songs for it. So that was really, really productive. And then all sorts of people, like everyone so many people that I was in contact with as musicians were posting to this. So we ended up having, I think there's like 400 members to it. And people were posting all the time. So that was really cool. And then at the same time, I was stuck in Wisconsin during the pandemic. So I was living in Africa and I had to come home. And my car was in Milwaukee. I drove my car to my parents' house and left it there while I was in Africa. And so when I came back from Africa, I couldn't drive home. I couldn't get back to Oregon because the gas stations were all closed. There's no public bathrooms, so it's a 3-day drive. And without public bathrooms, it's not a good scene. So I just
Wow.
I waited in Wisconsin for things to open up. I spent like 3 months in Wisconsin, but then I ended up hooking up with these two friends of mine, Michael, one of them, and the other is Carl Landwehr, who we call Toys. And the three of us had knocked around this side project called The Vagrant Waiters. It was really funny. The Vagrant Waiters came because this is like probably like 25 years ago. We're sitting at, Carl and I lived in an apartment together, a house, and we're watching St. Elsewhere, and the head of the hospital, his wife was throwing a party at their house, and the waiters were all homeless people. And so
Oh,
we're just laughing. We're baked up, and we're like, "Oh, look at that! They're the Vagrant Waiters, the Vagrant Waiters." And so that's how we came up with our name, the Vagrant Waiters, and it's stuck. And so we've played over the pandemic. We would go. We got really lucky, some super sunny days in like April and May in Milwaukee, and set up in Toys' driveway, and we just put up a bunch of cameras and did a Facebook Live thing. And we did 3 of these gigs, and they sounded freaking great. Like, and all we had nothing plugged in. It was just 3 of us with acoustic guitars and a cajon, and we just set up a couple of cameras, and we get like 20, 15, 20 people on the live feed. But then I had all this footage. So I ended up splicing together like 7 or 8 of these songs, and it's a really, really nice collection. We played well, which was, you know, kind of nice. So we didn't, it's like it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't like we were shredding like madmen, but it was just really nice acoustic material and really good songs. So I put them all together and got about 7 or 8 really nice videos out of it.
cool, cool. That sounds productive. Um,
Much more than I usually am.
yeah, I think that was the whole trick to surviving the pandemic is trying to just find ways to keep busy that were maybe not your
Yeah,
standard way of staying busy in the before times. But
right. And it's
yeah,
nothing better than, I mean, there wasn't any like sports on TV, and there were, like everything was shut down. So like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
what can you do? You can play music, so it was definitely a good trick to have in your bag.
Yep. Yeah, I started learning electronic music creation and Reason and
Fun.
yeah, it's something I wouldn't have done, in other circumstances. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was finding it very meditative, just to create something that,
Get a groove and
yeah, sometimes hours would go by. I'm like, oh my God, I just spent all afternoon on this thing.
that his music does have this timeless thing. It's a really
Yep.
funny story. One time we're rehearsing, we're going to play a New Year's Eve show, and we're in a friend's basement in Wisconsin, and it was Christmas Day, and we're like, oh, let's just knock out some tunes, then go home for Christmas dinner. And we were just knocking around. It really didn't get going for a while, and then we smoked out, and then we start playing, and we just completely lost track of time. And all of a sudden I look at my brother and I'm like, dude, what time you got? And he's like, oh crap, man, it's 8 o'clock. And we missed Christmas dinner.
Oh no.
We played right through Christmas dinner. We're like, oh, we got the hell out of here. And I remember like packing me, and I'm in the basement. They had to haul me out in my chair and stuff. And we get home, and my cousin Mary is there. She's leaving, and she's like, you guys are in trouble. And my
Yeah.
mom did like the passive aggressive. Well, if you didn't want, it's okay. You don't have to come to Christmas dinner. That's your prerogative. We're like, sorry, mom. Really, we just lost track of time. That's okay. That's okay. And it was not okay.
Right, right. Yeah, Christmas dinner. Yeah, I'm
Don't
sure
want to
she
miss
worked
that.
hard on that.
Yeah.
Next question. What band blew your mind the first time you heard them?
You know what? And it just jumped at me when I saw this question. One answer right away, and it was Parliament.
Oh,
And just I'd heard stuff, and I just like, oh, that's funk. It's really nice funk, but I didn't get the gist of what it was. And I was actually working for Adidas at the time, and we had a box of like 30 pairs of shoes. And my job for the night was to go over there playing at this club called La Luna in Portland. And it's probably like I don't know, like a 200 seater, something like that, but it's
mhm.
black boxes. And so I got backstage, which was kind of nice. And they have a chalkboard up, and they just played in Oakland the night before. And it's not like they all get into a bus and come together. They all made it to Portland via different thing. Like some of them flew, some drove, some guys took the bus, some people took the train. And so as they were like showing up, they just put their name on the chalkboard to show that they made the gig. And there's 24 guys in this band. It's not five guys, a singer, a drummer, and guitars and keys. It was all sorts of instruments, 25 of these guys, and they would set up in different outfits. Like, so they had, like one be like a jazz quintet, and then 7-piece horn section would come in, and they kept on, different forms of the band would be on and off stage all night. And when they started doing like the core funk stuff, they had 3 guitar players that just were, oh my God, they were like the 3 sons of Hendrix. They could just, all 3 of these guys could just rip the crap out of their instruments. And I was just blown away. I kind of thought like it was like kind of like a funky disco thing like that. And they were just shredders, and just everyone in this band. I'm like, how can this band make any money? Like the ticket was like $20 or something, and they had 24 guys on stage. I don't know what they made. And George Clinton, I'm sure, takes half of it, right? It's his
Yeah, yeah.
band. So I don't know what these guys really did to stay alive. Maybe the record company or something was supporting this, but they were so good. Every single person on stage was an absolute virtuoso, and oh my God, just rocked my freaking world. I just was so surprised. And yeah, anytime they come close, I go back. I go back because they are just one freaking amazing outfit.
Huh. That's a great answer. I saw
They are a
George
great
Clinton in
band.
concert a long time ago.
He's been at
Yeah.
it a while, yeah.
Yep. Very fun band to see for sure.
Yeah, you're moving, you're just shaking the whole time, yeah.
Yep. Um, yeah, it was for at University of New Hampshire.
UNH. My
Yeah.
brother lives not far from there. He lives in Vermont, middle of Vermont.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Vermont's a nice state too.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful.
My old, yeah, I from New England originally, so yeah, very familiar with all those places.
Yeah, love Vermont.
Yep.
Really, it gets cold, but man, it's just, they don't have the super high mountains like we have, but they're lower to the ground to begin with. So their mountains look super big. It's awesome. Beautiful place.
Yeah, I like going there in the summer.
Yeah,
Not
my nephew's like a semi-pro cyclist, and he loves training out there. Just every kind of terrain you'd want to train on, and he knocks those hills out. He's way into it.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I sure I'll get back there someday.
One of these days.
One of these days. So, next question: how do you see the future of local live music?
Did we just do that one?
No, it was what band blew your mind?
Well, we did that one earlier. Didn't we talk about live music, the music scene changing in Portland?
I guess we did basically cover that. So, yeah,
yeah, that's the future. Is everyone's got to get back out and play.
that is kind of redundant. I see. I have that question twice here. Okay. Oh well. How do you go about getting gigs? Then we'll go into that
one. So it ends up that's basically with the home band. That's basically been my job, is to book gigs, and I've probably booked like 80% of the gigs we play. And basically, it's just like get an idea, call up a bar and see if they'll have us, and It's funny because now each one of us in that basic core group, we all play in different bands in our home cities, and almost everyone in that band is responsible for booking their band. Like my brother Bay just books his own band. My friend John plays in a dead cover band out of Chicago called Dose, and he books all their gigs. My brother Dan, actually, he and his wife book their gigs for his band in Charlottesville. Um, to Carl and Michael and our John, our drummer, they play in an outfit in Milwaukee, and I don't know who books their gigs. I don't think they book, but basically, if you want to play, go book a gig.
Exactly.
If you want to play, go book a gig, and it's like the field of dreams. If you book it, they will come, and you can get really stale because if you don't stay on it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, we haven't played in 6 months. And I'm currently with my guitar partner up here in Portland, Bill. We played out one of my book shows. We played out for the first time in I think it was 4 years
Oh, wow.
because I was gone in Africa and through the pandemic we didn't get together. So we finally booked this book show gig, and Bill got off stage and he's like, "Man, that's really fun." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." we got to do it again and longer because we only played like a 7-song set or something. So yeah, we are very motivated now. We're gonna get together I think next weekend and rehearse, and then yeah, find some more. There's plenty of bars in Portland that you just got to call them up and they'll put you up. So just got to get motivated to do it.
Cool. Yeah, that's inspiring.
Yeah,
I've been trying to book some things, but it's weird right now. So
yeah.
I was curious about what people are going to answer for these. I'm basically asking everyone the same questions on this podcast, and then so there's not really a right or wrong answer.
Corvallis, like I love the outdoor, man. Playing outdoors in Corvallis and Eugene, that's the best. That's really freaking, those one-off gigs you get are freaking awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Or even like we played at in Cindy's backyard there a couple times.
Yeah, played a bunch of
Yeah,
those.
yeah,
That is a really fun afternoon for 3 or 4 bands, and the setup is great and the vibe is super chill. It's awesome.
exactly. Yeah, says something for Corvallis that they could let bands
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
funny. People have Eugene has this like national reputation as this chill hippie town, and it really isn't. And Corvallis is. So everyone, all the
right, right.
reputation Eugene has is true in Corvallis, not in Eugene.
That was kind of the selling point of when I realized I was moving to Corvallis. Um, my wife described it as, "Oh, it's like very hippie there. You'll like it, you know." So I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
let's go."
it's good.
We've
It's
been
good.
here
Good
14
hang,
years now.
Corvallis.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
geez, 14 years. Wow.
yep. What else? Oh, just want to say I enjoy your book. I've been reading. I find it's interesting. I can basically open to any page, you know, and you have an interesting story. So I'm learning a lot about you. So I'm reading it.
Originally, that's the original name of the book it was My Boston Marathon, because I just recently did the Boston Marathon, and I wrote 26 chapters, and it was 26 vignettes, one for each mile.
Mhm.
Um, and that ended up getting too long. The book ended up being like 600 pages. And so but that was the original thing, is I wanted each chapter to be a standalone story. And I think this one, it still stays that way. It's pretty much, there is some carry through, but each chapter has a standalone story.
Cool. Yeah, I was just reading just before while I was waiting for the podcast appointment to start. I was looking through it. There was one section I was reading about how you get arrested and didn't want any
In
needles.
Abu
So,
Dhabi.
yeah. That's an interesting
Oh man, I
story.
got thrown in jail, got sick. Oh, just it was that. I mean, talk about a what are we calling gigadeddon or whatever we were calling gig nightmares, gig mares,
Gig Mayor. Yeah.
and that was the worst of any performance I've ever had to do, because I was stuck in jail overnight, and there was just tons of there were Pakistanis and Sri Lankans and Filipinos, and there was a bug in there, and I got sick as a dog. And I remember, like, I got released from jail. My boss had to get our show owner to get me out of jail. So I got out of jail and then went over to the show course, and the team's like, "You got to do the high dives today because you went to jail." And I missed the morning shows too, so they're like, "You got to do that," and I'm like, "All right, I'll do it." But then I just started getting sicker and sicker, and climbing up the ladder for the last night show. It was like at 8 o'clock at night. It's pitch dark out, and I start just hallucinating, and my head is spinning, and my stomach's about to erupt, and I'm 80 feet above the Persian Gulf, and I got to do a
Wow.
trick. I got to hop off the ladder and do my dive was a reverse double somersault, and I got complete. Like I say, it was night, so the pool, or it wasn't the pool, it was the Persian Gulf. The landing area was lit up, but way up on top of the ladder wasn't. And I just got completely lost in there, and I landed flat on my butt from 80 feet and took like half the Persian Gulf up my ass.
Oh my goodness.
And I was in a world of hurt. I was in a big world of hurt that day.
Wow.
Next day, got to do it again.
Gotta
get back over there, do it again.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had an interesting life and continue to have one. Oh, by the way, thank you for letting me play at your.
Oh my God, it was so nice. And Peggy was just like, "Oh, he's such a nice boy, and he plays so well."
Yeah, I could tell she was happy with it. Yeah, so she was smiling at me.
Yeah, she's 90. Peggy's 90.
90.
Yeah.
Wow. That
was amazing.
Fun.
Pretty spirited gal there.
Yeah. I was. I didn't have the lyrics in front of me, so I was glad that I could remember the words to Leroy Brown.
Yeah,
I know
that's why I played it. I'm like, that's pretty much everyone's gonna. Once they start, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know this song."
Yeah.
It's been beaten into my head for 40 years or wherever it is.
Back in the day, it was on the radio all the time.
Nonstop. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's an easy one to play. It's just G, A, B, C, D, G all day.
I definitely have that songbook, and guitar was my first instrument. So,
Cool.
I'm glad I switched to drums, because what I've learned is I know just enough about guitar to know who's actually a good guitar player. So
yeah,
I tend to work with them. I'm like, oh, that guy. Yeah.
If you got a drum kit, you got a band.
That's right.
That's always true. Yeah. In fact, you're usually not a band until you have a drummer. So, all revolves around the percussion, man. That's what we're doing there.
Yep. My job is usually to keep the band from falling apart. That's what I focus on mostly.
Move the music forward.
Yeah,
but keep the music going forward. Yeah,
but at the same time, trying to make it interesting. Like if I'm having a good day.
It's always nice when there's two drummers, because you can actually, let one drummer just bang away, and the other one just keeps the beat. It's really fun. I think when there's percussion or drums, when there's two. Yeah, I think it really frees up both players a ton.
Yeah, a bunch of years ago, I played it for a 4th of July thing with the flute. Was it the flute jazz ensemble or something like that? Mm-hmm. And we had percussionist. So it was we really locked in, the two of us. So that it just carried the whole show. I mean, just the two of us locking in. Then we had really good, players, on bass, and the keyboard player had worked with Buddy Rich, I think.
Oh, cool! Wow.
It was, the guy was old too.
Man, I saw this outfit, and I can't remember. It was at the Portland Jazz Festival, I think. And basically, the flautist was the percussionist. So he would he kept the beat with his flute, and he was really heavy player, just blowing it, and it actually made a percussive sound coming out. And after I'm watching for a while, it's like there's a bass player, guitar player, and this flautist. And I'm like, oh my God, the flautist is the percussion. That's what's keeping the beat going. Really, really amazing. Just totally. And he wasn't like playing scales on his flute. He was just keeping the freaking drum beat going with the flute. It's really, really impressive.
That sounds like Ian Anderson on steroids or something.
Oh, have you ever seen him?
Not live in concert, but yeah.
I saw him in Portland, front row in Portland a couple years ago, and it was really amazing because this woman was there with her 8-year-old daughter, and the first band played, and after they're done, she looks at her mom and she goes, "Mom, I thought you said there was a wizard going to play tonight." And she was like, "Don't worry, there's a wizard coming." And Ian Anderson, when they come out, he comes out and he plants himself literally 2 feet from this little girl's face, and gets on one leg and starts playing the flute like this. and you could just see her eyes just explode, and she was like, "Mommy, it's the wizard."
Yeah, I
Really,
would call him a
oh my
wizard.
god,
Yeah, definitely.
great outfit, man. They're
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, speaking of live concerts, we have in common. We both went to the same Roger Waters show last year.
I saw you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was really pretty impressive. The whole thing was just
yeah,
so unique. The stage setup and the way the whatever light video show was just totally integrated into the show is amazing.
yeah. No, I was blown away by that one.
Yeah, since then he's come out be kind of a dick.
Oh,
Apparently
he's
said
yeah.
like some
He has some interesting perspectives.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
who's
that show
entitled
was
to?
great.
Yep.
That show was freaking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely. I never did see Pink Floyd in concert, so to me that was as close as I'm going to get.
You know, it's funny. My brother and I both slept overnight at ticket outlets. He was in Madison, I was in Milwaukee. And we both slept overnight to get in line to buy Pink Floyd tickets. And I remember I was like third in line, so I got these great tickets. And he had the same thing. He was for the show they're doing in Madison, and we both left the country and didn't go see the show.
Oh no! Oh wow!
But the cool thing is, I would move. I was living in France, so I went back at my place I lived in France, and they played Grenoble. So I went and saw them in Grenoble, which was
Oh, you did?
unbelievable, at the rugby stadium in Grenoble. Really awesome. Stade Municipal à Grenoble. Really, classic Pink Floyd lineup. It was awesome.
Plus, I've heard when they played at the Moda Center, the actual Pink Floyd, people still talk about that, and
Yeah.
overhear them talking bars. Say, yeah, the Pink Floyd brought so much sound equipment into that Moda Center. I mean, they had surround sound in that building. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that was unlike Jack White, who was kind of blurry sounding in there in the hockey rink.
Yeah, dozen truckloads. I guess they used to carry their stuff around. Wow. Well, that's a lot of gear to haul and set crazy, it up and take it down. Oh my god, what a job!
Yeah. So so I don't envy that. I like being a small timer, just doing little neighborhood bar shows and things.
Yep.
More intimate.
I am a minimalist myself. I like just showing up with what it takes to get the job done, and anything more is just a pain in the ass.
That's how I see it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, being a drummer, I mean, I have to get the car.
You've got enough stuff as it is. Yeah.
I don't want to add anything.
And guys have gone out with like lights and smoke and all this shit, and it's like, dude, just play your set, man.
When I was a teenager, I would try to do some of that. I had this huge PA system and a light show, and just, I don't know. I began downsizing almost immediately.
Once you start hauling, right? Once you start hauling the shit around, you're like, nope.
I need to
just the facts.
I need a van in order to play gigs. I don't know about that.
So. Yeah. Oops. Running out of juice here. Shit.
Oh no. Well, anyway. But I had an interview yesterday with my uncle. It went about this long, and then we called it. So if you're running out of juice, we can wind it down.
I was just gonna say one fun story about music, and it's a pretty good one. The best or the most famous musician I ever played with, I didn't even know the guy was famous while I was playing with him, and it's really funny. We're in Vienna. And my older brother Andy was doing a sabbatical, and I was over there hanging out with him. We went to this club called Jazzland, and it's a downstairs club. So it's down like 20, 23, 24 steps. So they carried me down these steps, and we get into this place. It's like 100-seater, big long tables. It's a winery. So, people are just slugging wine. And this guy's name was Oscar Klein. And he was booked there for a week. So I just was like, oh, this guy's booked at this club for a week. He's got to be pretty good. And they were fantastic. He played with this Oscar's blues band, and like their drummer filled up wine glasses in the front row and played songs. He filled them up to the right level so he could actually play lyrical tunes on the wine glasses in front of him. He also juggled, take 3 sticks and juggle the sticks and keep the beat of the song while he's going.
Wow.
Which I thought was a pretty fun trick. But take a break at halftime, and I had to go to hit the loo. and I go to the loo. And then when I come back, my brother is sitting at the bar with this guy, Oscar Klein. My brother's a doctor, and he'll go up to talk to anybody. And so they were just shooting the shit. And then this Oscar Klein guy looks at me and he goes, "Your brother says you are a great guitar player." And I'm like, "I am an adequate guitar player." And he's like, "Well, what can you play?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm left-handed." So, and he's like, "Oh, nonsense." So he goes up to the stage and he grabs a guitar and brings it over and he's like, "What do you got?" And they're just playing blues, right? They're playing like 3-chord blues stuff. And I'm like, I can handle that upside down. So I just started banging away, some upside down guitar chords enough to make it sound. And he goes, "Marvelous. You will come on stage with us." So it was a really tight stage. So they had to clear out. I actually had to like pull off one of my wheels so I could get in the spot. And then they jam the wheel back in. And I'm literally like leaning up against one of the amps.
Oh.
And yeah, it was just, it was like blues and C, blues and G, blues and E, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I could handle it. And it was pretty, really fun, really awesome to be up there and stuff. And, at the end, I was like, "Man, that was really so nice of you to have me up. I really like it." He was like, "Oh, it was such an oddity to see someone play upside down. It was really unique." And I'm like, "Oh, great, great, great." The next day, we're going to this wine tasting with a bunch of doctors. And my brother Andy goes to this one of the doctors and says, "Hey, we went out last night to a club called Jazzland." And this other doctor's like, "Oh, I know Jazzland." And he said, "And Tom got to go and play up on stage." And the guy was like, "But no. He's like, the Oscar Klein was playing last night. He didn't play with Oscar Klein." And he's like, yeah. That's the guy. That's his name, Oscar Klein. He's like, "Do you have any idea who Oscar Klein is?" And we're like, "No." And they're like, he's our Louis Armstrong. He is the king of Austrian jazz. He's the most important figure in all of Austrian jazz. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't know that, or I would have been really freaked out,
Wow.
But it was pretty crazy. My highest level gig I ever had, and I didn't even know it was happening until it was over.
Yeah, but like you said, it's probably a good thing you didn't know
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
playing. That's really cool.
3 chords, I can handle those.
And the truth.
And the truth, yes, of
Yes.
course.
Yeah, this is really exciting. The whole point of doing this podcast for me is I feel like it's the ultimate honor to give another person a chance to talk and be listened to. So
It is super sweet, man. I really, really felt honored to be asked. It's really fun talking shit about music, and it's what we do. It's what keeps us young.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm finding this to be fun. I just give people a chance to talk, and then you realize, I really like this person.
Back at you, man.
Right.
Back at you.
So yeah, we'll put this out there into on iHeartRadio.
Cool.
So look for that. If you want to send me an MP3 of a piece of music you want to share at the end, I'll put that on.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you a link to the that Vagrant Waiter stuff that I put together.
Cool. Yeah, so I tend to throw some of that on there too. So
cool. That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to me and share your story with the world, whoever wants to listen to it. And once again, Tom's book is Global Nomad. I highly recommend it.
On WSU Press.
That's right. That's where I bought it.
There you go. That way you don't have to worry about a link. You can just Google WSU Press and there it is.
That's the beauty of radio. Just people put that in your noggins and buy it. It's a great book.
Cheers.
Nice talking.
Hey, Kevin, really, really honored. Thanks so much for asking.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you too. So yeah, appreciate you taking the time.
Cool. Maybe catch you next weekend or 2 weekends in Corvallis for the Floyd show.
Oh, right. The Pigs on the Wing.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll pop down for that.
Yeah,
cool.
That'll be fun. I know other people are going. So yeah, we'll make a party out of it.
We shall. All right.
Sounds good.
Take it easy, man.
You too. Take care.
Peace.
Wow, that was a great interview with Tom Haig, author of Global Nomad. Pick that book up, read it, take it in, learn about a great human being, Tom Haig. And a friend of mine, I'm proud to say he is my friend. Also, we leave you with the Burdens. We were playing outside during the pandemic in downtown Corvallis. And we feature this lineup of the Burdens: Alan Studley on vocals and harmonica, Tom Haig on rhythm guitar and vocals, Paul DeBali on lead guitar and vocals, David Whitaker on lead guitar, saxophone, and vocals, Brian Egan on bass and vocals, and myself, Kevin Ronco, on drums and I think vocals. Enjoy.